Welcome back to the channel. My name's Joseph, and today we're going to be looking at Melbourne's oldest buildings that were built within the Central Business District. We're looking at 9 buildings that were built in the city, plus 3 that were reconstructed. So come along with us as we explore Melbourne and have a look at some of these old buildings that were built before 1850, before the gold rush of 1851, and before the separation of Victoria and New South Wales. Melbourne is a young city. Its European history stretches back to 1835, when Melbourne was founded by 2 pastoralists, John Faulkner and John Batman. Only a handful of structures remain from before 1850. A colony was established on the banks of the Yarra, where Elizabeth Street is today. This was the town's first dock. Our first stop today, and we've taken you to what was the Oddfellows Hotel, which was built in 1849. The Oddfellows Hotel and the Black Eagle Hotel were spared for heritage purposes, and we'll take you to that stop next. But the Oddfellows Hotel ceased in 1912 and followed it with a Chinese cabinet maker who occupied this place until 1930.
I'm standing in front of the Black Eagle Hotel. This is number 44 Lonsdale Street. These 2 small taverns, we actually saw the other one a little bit beforehand, were built in 1849 and are all that remains of one of Melbourne's most notorious slums, a district known for about 100 years as Little Lon, and now it's reclaiming that particular name. This hotel was delicensed around 1908, along with many other taverns and hotels of that era, when there was a law of 1906 that led to the reduction of hotels.
As you can see, this building is pretty much covered in scaffolding, but it is actually the Crosley building, or also known as the Job Warehouse. It was built in 1848, and it was built for William Crosley. It's a rare example of simple Georgian school of design. The west end of the store was occupied by William, a butcher, with a slaughterhouse in the rear. It was here that William trained many of the city's first butchers. At the beginning of the 20th century, a number of tailors and dressmakers set up shop in the Crosby building. The last of the fabric businesses closed in 2012 or 2012, waiting for a future development. Let's see what happens here, but they're keeping the facade because it has a very strong heritage listing, and it's one of our earliest buildings in Melbourne. And as a young boy, I remember coming along here with my mother to purchase selected fabrics.
And as a young man in the 80s, I remember these buildings remained idle with fabric in them, and they weren't open for business, and they remained that way for decades until now discovered and renovated. So let's have a look at what the future holds. Peter here, and Ruby. I'm standing in front of number 146 Flinders Street in Melbourne, otherwise referred to as the Duke of Wellington. It's an old building built in 1850. It originally started its day as a modest boarding house and it tried a number of times to get a liquor license and successfully achieved one in 1853. Now it says the oldest hotel in Melbourne. I wonder if that also means the longest continuously operating hotel in Melbourne. The hotel has definitely stood the test of time, and I remember this one as a kid when I was actually on the tram taking the number 48 tram into Flinders Street, and you'd pass this particular pub all the time. Anyway, nice to see it stood the test of time.
I'm standing at 174 Collins Street, the Baptist Church, which was completed in 1845. It had further expansion in 1862, but famed local architect Joseph Reed. That picture here of him, the new design featured 4 Corinthian columns to give the church an open meeting place. It's lovely. It's quite lovely. You think it's something from Europe or Paris. I'm standing at the Ascertain Tavern, which was built in 1837. The city's oldest building. It dates back to 1837 when it was built as a private residence. It remained a private dwelling until 1867 when Henry Thomas purchased the property and turned it into a tavern. The name came from the street it stood in, Bank Place. The original name was Mitre Lane. Behind me stands John Smith House in Queen Street in the city of Melbourne. It was built in 1848 and in 1852 a third story was added. John Smith worked at the Indigenous mission in South Melbourne, where the original inhabitants had been moved to. As the city expanded, the substantial house featured 17 rooms, an entrance hall, 2 cellars and a coach house and stables. It is now a private office space. Our next stop will be the Corner House, or the Corner Shop as it was once known as. I'm going to do my best to drown out some of the noise, traffic noise, but here we go. We're at the wonky old Russell Tea Rooms, which was built in 1850. One of the oldest buildings in the Central Business District. And not much change, though it's not the oldest surviving building in the city per se. In 1899, the building was purchased by Valletta Azzopardi, also operated as a general store. For over a century. Valletta's granddaughter Lola Russell and husband George Dixon undertook renovations. George died in 2017 and Lola, who was born in the shop, died in 2024, so only recently. As you can see, it's undergoing renovations, it's locked up, it's got scaffolding on the other side. We're waiting to see what happens to it in the future, but it's also got a strong heritage listing, so there's no way they're going to be pulling this old shop down. It's got a lot more life left in it yet. Now we're going to take a walk further down the street. We're going to take you to the old St. James Cathedral. See you there. I'm at St. James Cathedral, which was built in 1839, originally built on a 5-acre property set back from Collins Street corner. With the opening of St. Paul's Cathedral in 1891, St. James lost its congregation. St James was leaking so badly that on one occasion its pipes had filled with water. In May 1913, the historic church was condemned, and due to public outcry and the prospect of Melbourne losing its oldest church of being demolished, it was moved to its present site, as you see behind me. Some changes were made to the church, its ceilings were lowered and columns omitted, and the tower was altered. I'm at St Francis Church. It was built in 1841. Father Patrick Cogan proved an Android fundraiser, and within 2 years St Francis was built. Construction began in 1841. And Mary MacKillop, Australia's first saint, took her first Holy Communion here at the church in 1850. And I'm going to step aside and show you a little bit more of the church, and Peter's got a little story to tell you about his family.
Hello, buddy. Now, St Francis holds a very special interest to me. Number one, my mother's great-grandparents, that would be Patrick Marr and Mary Donahue, married there, I believe, in about 1842. So the building was at least consecrated, I hope. Otherwise, they had an unconsecrated wedding. And my second point of interest for St Francis is that the Blessed Sacrament Fathers are the priest at St Francis, and the Blessed Sacrament Fathers, they have a saint of St Peter Julian Aymard. And have a guess who I was named after? Peter. Rippy.
I'm going to take you inside and have a look at this wonderful little church. I'm at Latrobe's Cottage. It was built in 1839, but not here. It's one of those buildings that was reconstructed and then moved twice to this point. It was built for Governor Joseph Latrobe, and it is one of Melbourne's oldest buildings. Prefabricated home, constructed in England and transported to Melbourne. Like St James Old Cathedral, it was relocated prior to its current site. So here we are, and it's worth coming here on a Sunday to have a look and explore the interior of this cottage and learn a little bit of history about our first Lieutenant Governor. Well, I'm at my final stop. This is Cook's Cottage, which was built in 1755. Now, there's a bit of discrepancy here. We talk about old buildings of Melbourne. You're looking at it, but she was reconstructed here. So she wasn't built here. Cook's Cottage has to be the oldest building, but it was built originally in London, in England. And it was transported from Great Ayton. It was rebuilt here in the Fitzroy Gardens in 1934. And as much as it wasn't originally built here, it still has a presence of being the oldest building that's standing in Melbourne, but not built in Melbourne. So there we have it, Melbourne's oldest buildings, and whichever way you look at it, whether built here or reconstructed, these are Melbourne's oldest buildings before 1851's gold rush and the separation of the colony of Victoria and New South Wales. Well folks, I hope you've enjoyed our walk around Melbourne. I'm feeling a little peckish now, so it's time for me to go and find something to eat, and I'll leave you with this, and I hope you've enjoyed searching for Melbourne's oldest buildings. We'll check you out on another time, on another video, and another place. Thanks for coming along with us. Cheers.